All right, welcome to a lesson on 4.3. When you are viewing this, I am hoping that you completely understand 4.1 and you've got a good grasp on 4.2. And this means that moving to 4.3, you're ready to tackle some equations that have fractions. Here's the work. You can copy it into your homework page when we get done, just 3 questions. And just so you understand kind of where we're at and where we're going, you don't need to copy this out just to kind of view. But back in 4.1, we solved one-step equation, something like 4x equals 16, you divide 16 by 4. Or y minus 2 equals 4, you bring the subtract 2 to the other side, it becomes plus 2. So 4 plus 2 is 6. Just these one-step equations, you got to be really good at them. And even the two-step equations that involve a multiplication and usually an addition or subtraction. So we get rid of the subtraction first, we bring that subtract 3 to the other side, it becomes plus 3. So 13 plus 3 will be 16, and then we divide it by 4, and we get an answer of 4. You have to be good with 4.1 to move on to 4.2. Because 4.2 says, wait a second, what if you don't just have one variable here, but what if there's variables on both sides? So do you see the difference with this one and this one? Do you see how we have 4x minus 3, but now we have this other x term over here? This was when you move the 1x term to the one side to go with the other term, and the subtract 3 over to this side. You grouped your like terms together, but make sure you change the sign. And as soon as your like terms are together, you can combine them. So when this 2x comes to this side, becomes a negative 2x, 4x take away 2x leaves you with 2x. And when this negative 3 comes this side, it becomes a plus 3, 9 plus 3 is 12, and then it looks like this, and you can solve. The only other thing we did in 4.2 was we had brackets. And you guys know how to expand out the brackets. 4 times 2 is 8 of these x's, and 4 times 1 is 4. This is a positive, you stay, you stay. 3 times 2 is 6 of these x's, 3 times 2 is 6. You're a positive, you stay, and you stay, and then it looks something like this in order to solve. So you have to be good with these types of equations in order for you to move on to 4.3. Now in this video, I'm only going to do equations with one fraction. Something that may look like this, one fraction here. But when you come back to class, that's when I'm going to go with multiple fractions. I'll do this in class for you, okay? So today, we're not going to worry about this, we're only going to worry about this. And in order to help you out, I just have a little bit of analogy here, kind of a situation I think that sometimes helps. What do you think is the better deal? Half of a pizza for $7 or a slice of pizza for $3? Which is the better deal? Thinking about this, I think there's some information that's missing in order to make your determination and your solution. So think about it for a second, pause the video, and then when you're ready, come on back and we'll talk about this, and then I'll show you how this relates to solving an equation with one fraction. Well, after thinking about it, I'm hoping that you get to the point you're saying, well, I know what half a pizza is. I just don't know how big this slice is. It's hard to tell this slice how much bigger this is than the slice, and then I could tell. But if I went like this and took half a pizza and took another half, and I put them together to make this whole pizza, I would need 7 for the one half, 7 for the other. This would be a total $14. So if you got 2 halves to make a whole, you got 14. As soon as I go over here and I take one of these, I take another, and I'm going to spin it just a little bit and put it right next. I'll take another, spin it, put it right next to it, get another, spin it, put it right next to it, and finally, I think I need one more piece here. Spin it around, put it in here. Do you see how it takes 5 slices in order to make this whole pizza like we had over here? Well, 5 slices would be 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3. You would need 5 of these $3 slices in order to make a full pizza. So that would cost you not 14, but $15. And you can see the better deal is over here. How in the world does what I just did relate to solving equations with fractions? Well, here's what I'm trying to get to. We couldn't get our answer when we had a half of a pizza or a fifth of a pizza. But as soon as we made it a whole, we were able to solve. We were able to compare. What we're going to do is when we have a fraction, just like we had a fraction of a pizza, we're going to turn that fraction into a whole, and then we're going to be off to the races and we can solve these equations very, very quickly. So our whole key is to do one step to get rid of a fraction and turn it into a whole, or get rid of a fraction, turn it into a whole. So let's see how we're going to do that. In these equations, okay, equations with one fraction, we are simply going to multiply both sides by the denominator of the fraction. So simplify the equations involving one fraction by multiplying both sides by the denominator. So the easiest way to see this in action with an example, and does everybody see in this example how my denominator is 3? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides, this side by 3 and this side by 3. They both get multiplied by 3. Just like over here, both these sides got multiplied by 2, and both these sides got multiplied by 5. Well, this equation, both are going to get multiplied by 3. And here's what it looks like. 3 is going to be multiplied, that's what that dot means, by 6. Equals, and I'm going to put a 3 multiplied, and I'm going to put everything the same right here. The only difference from here and here is 3 times and 3 times. Now here's where the magic of this happens. Here's where this becomes so easy. On this side, when you take and multiply something by 3 and you divide it by 3, they cancel each other out. We don't have that fraction anymore. So on this side, we are simply left with the 1 bracket 8 plus x. But don't forget on this side, 3 times 6 gives us this 18. Notice we have no more fractions anymore. We did one step, multiplied both by the denominator. This got 3 times bigger. This got 3 times bigger too, but the 1/3 went away because when you multiply a third by 3, you get a whole, just like we did with the pizzas. We multiplied by 5. Here we multiplied by 3. So to solve this, 1 times 8 is 8, and 1 times x is x. They both stay positive. We bring the 8 to the other side. And when I solve, I get x is equal to 10. Instead of 10 equals x, I just spun it around and I went x is equal to 10. All right, second example. We have an equation. There's the equal sign, but notice we have one fraction. So in order to get rid of this fraction, we have to multiply both sides by the denominator, and our denominator is 3. So notice this side. Everything gets multiplied by 3, 3 times, and on this side, it gets multiplied by 3. The only difference from here to here is 3 times and 3 times. Everything else is the same. Memorize that. Know that. So over here, 3 times -2 is just -6. But again, here's where the magic happens. This 2 times x minus 3 is being multiplied by 3 and divided by 3. They cancel each other out. You don't need them anymore. So what we're going to do is we're then going to say, well, wait a second, we're only left with 2 bracket x minus 3. So 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 3 is 6. You're a positive, you stay, you stay. -6 is on this side. We're solving this just like we did now back in 4.2. The -6 goes to the other side, becomes a +6. But unfortunately, -6 plus 6 just goes to 0. And when we divide 0 by 2, we still get 0. And we're done. So notice here that all we did right here was we multiplied both sides of the equation by the denominator. This gets rid of the denominator. It's shown in red. Gone, gone. So pause the video, copy this out, make sure you understand it, and then we'll move on to our one down below here. So pause the video, copy this out, make sure you know it. Okay, so welcome back. Notice we have an equation, equal sign, one denominator. So what do? We multiply both sides by that denominator. This whole thing gets multiplied by 4. This whole thing gets multiplied by 4. What happens on the side with the denominator? They just cancel, and we're left with 3 bracket z minus 5. What happens here? Nothing cancels. There's no denominator. It's 4 times 7 is 28. This is like taking a quarter of a pizza and multiplying it by 4 to get rid of the quarter. You now got a whole one. And this is like 4 times the price. Now we're just going to solve this. 3 times z is 3 of these z's, and 3 times 5 is 15. You're a positive, you stay, you stay. We bring the 15 to the other side. And it becomes 3z equals 43. We now divide by 3, and even though it doesn't go in evenly, you could put a decimal here. I'm just going to keep it as a fraction. Both work. If you wanted to divide it in and get whatever it is, 16 and a third, I think, or sorry, 14 and a third, you can do that. But I'm just going to keep it as 43 over 3. So you try these 4. See what you can do, pause the video, come back, and I'll take them up quickly, and then you can move on to try some on your own. So try these 4 on your own. You can check your work as you go. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you had a chance to try these. So going through these a little more quickly. My denominator is 3. I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. This gets multiplied by 3. This gets multiplied by 3. The 3's cancel here. That's the key. This 3 and this 3 cancel. There is no more denominator. It's 1 bracket x minus 2. That's what you have on this side. X minus 2. 1 times x is x. 1 times 2 is 2. On this side, we get 15. And then the only thing we have to do is bring that 2 to the other side. And we get x is equal to 17. So hopefully you got that one. I maybe should have showed the one step in here. 1 bracket x minus 2 equals 15 and then multiplied it out. But when you multiply something by 1, it doesn't change. Over here, what's my denominator? It's the 3. So this side gets multiplied by 3. And this side gets multiplied by 3. And notice I put that negative up with the 2 like we always do. What happens on this side? We get 12. But on this side, notice the 3 and the dividing by 3 go away. Think of your favorite number. Multiply that number by 3 and then divide it by 3. You're right back to your favorite number. Well, my favorite number is negative 2 bracket p minus 2. So when I multiply it by 3 and divide it by 3, I get right back to negative 2 bracket p minus 2. They cancel each other out. So I'm left with that side, no more fraction. Multiply out your bracket. Bring the 4 to this side. Change the sign. That gives me an 8. And then we divide by negative 2. And we end up with, move this, we end up with p is equal to negative 4, or negative 4 is equal to p. And we're done. Over here, 1 fraction. Lots of 3's, eh? A lot of these fractions are 3's. So we multiply both sides by 3. That's how I show it. What happens here? There's no multiplying out. They just cancel each other out. And you're left with m plus 4. But on this side, you got 21. So we bring 4 to the other side, subtract, and we end up with m is equal to 17, and we are done. Think about this now. What's 17 plus 4? That's 21. And what's 21 divided by 3? 7. So 7 equals 7. This thing works. The last one. I did this one just a little bit different, just to show you a different technique. But see, my denominator is 5. So notice what I did here. Instead of using the dots, you see how I showed multiplication with the dots? Here I showed multiplication with brackets. So it's 5 times this side and 5 times this side. The same thing happens though. 5 times negative 14 is negative 70. And this 5 and this 5 cancel out. I'm just left with the 2 bracket h minus 3. Now we expand out the bracket. We bring the 6 to the other side. Comes a plus. And we end up with this right here. Now, I'm not going to show the step of dividing by 2. I know how to cut 64 in half, and it's just a negative. So it's negative 32. If you wanted to show this step, you can, but I'm at the point now where if you can just take this number and divide it by 2 and get your answer, that's fine too. So that's it, folks. That's how you solve equations with one fraction. You pick the denominator, you multiply both sides by that denominator. The side with the fraction is the easier side because they just cancel each other out. Just don't forget to multiply these two together. And now you have something, you always have something that you know how to solve from the previous chapter. You see, after you cancel out, you've got something from 4.2. You see how you cancel out? You got something from 4.1. You see when you cancel these out, you got something from 4.2. When you cancel those out, something from 4.2. When you cancel them out, something from 4.2. You always have something from a previous section. So hopefully this makes sense. So hopefully you can get this done. Again, your homework is these three. They must be done by the time you get into class because we are moving on. I'll take up any difficulties, but I'm not reteaching. Okay, so make sure you're responsible for your own learning here. And please reach out to me in Edsby if there is any issues. But the first part of 4.3 is done. We will get to the second part in class. I know.